Hi guys, so we'll be starting another chapter, and I believe that this is one of the coverage for final examinations for personal development. So let's talk about chapter 9, emotional intelligence. We've been discussing a lot of things and how do we really improve ourselves as a person and how do we really manage our stresses. We've been talking about mental health, stress management, and personal development in general. But you remember that your personality and your personal well-being will never be complete if you will not know how do you really manage your emotions and how do emotional intelligence scientifically really works, and why is it that when there's a day that you're sad, what do you do when you are sad? How do you handle yourself when you are sad? Or how do you respond to people when you are angry? So these emotions and the idea of emotional intelligence talks about your ability on how do you handle your emotions. But we're going to do some hack this time because there is a part in our brain as well that really controls our emotional intelligence. It's not just one tip of the finger, then you're done with your emotional intelligence. Then you have your emotions already. It's not like that. Let's talk about emotional intelligence. Okay, so we have several things that we will be discussing in this chapter. And the first chapter is the neurological basis of emotions. When we say neurological basis of emotions, is our emotions has something to do with our brain. Of course, right? When you see something, when you smell something, when you hear something, when you tasted something, it's equivalent with a particular emotion. Is that true? How true is that? Okay. So let's talk about emotional intelligence. Why it can matter more than IQ. We have this what we call intelligence quotient, but we have also this emotional quotient, EQ and IQ. But let's talk about EI by Daniel Goldman. It was presented the physiological process on how emotion occurs. It says that all emotions are, in essence, impulses to act, the instant plan for handling life that evolution instills in us. When you see someone died, basically you will feel sad. Am I correct? Regardless if it is your family member or not. But there is, of course, gradients of emotions. If it's your family member, therefore, when he or she dies, it is bigger. Okay, we really feel sadness. But again, even if it's not your family member, even if it's just a pet, for example, you see a dog died in a car accident, you will feel bad. You will feel sad, right? You will not say that, oh, I'm happy the dog died. No, because there's something in your brain that says that when you see someone die, you'll feel sad. Okay. However, the irregularities in this activity in our brain has something to do with neurological basis of the emotion. Goldman also traces the origins of emotions from human races. Survival instincts to sense, detect, assess, and act on any threat to its life and survival. Do you think how Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, or our ancestors, okay, in a pre-colonial setup, expresses their emotions? It's like, for example, yung kapwa mo Homo erectus, kinuha yung pangkain mo. Would you feel sad? Okay. If we're going to check the definition of Daniel Goleman in his study, therefore these Homo erectus can feel still sadness. Right? Ikaw ba naman, nag-hunt ka ng tiger, tapos kinuha lang ng isang Homo erectus. Do you feel happy? Okay? It's either a fight or flight response. Okay? it's either bugbugin nung Homo erectus na yun, yung kumuha nung meat flesh niya, or he will just leave. It's still an emotion. It's still an instinct of life survival. Okay? So, we have parts of our human brain primarily that are primarily involved in the creation of emotion. The first one is amygdala. The second is our neocortex. And number three is our frontal lobe. I'll be showing you pictures of that one a little bit later. But this is according to Dr. Joseph Ledox of 1992 study. He said and argued that amygdala has become the center of action. Okay? The emotional sentinel, as he said, that can take control of our actions even before the neocortex could assess what to do. We have to understand that amygdala is the receptor, okay, of these things. Okay, before he forwards it to our neocortex that will decide what will you do on that particular situation. Will you cry? Will you smile? Will you jump? Will you feel butterflies in your stomach or etc.? Will you feel kilig or etc.? It's neocortex. But Dr. Ledox already argued that it's in amygdala. Before neocortex can assess, there is already a perception or a pre-response in amygdala before it forwards to neocortex. Okay? How does that happen, right? So if you're going to check, this is amygdala, right? You're going to see this one, okay? This. That's the amygdala. This is our brain stem, okay? So it has been argued that if we see a snake in front of us, its image is passed on the thalamus. Okay. Eyes, you'll see your eyes. Right. Now, I mean, you'll see a snake through your eyes, and it will be sent to the thalamus, right? Which sends impulses to other parts of your brain, the thalamus. Okay. It sends an impulse. It sends an electricity first into the neocortex, okay, our thinking brain, then to amygdala, then to frontal lobes, right? So small amounts of the pulses from the thalamus escape the amygdala. Let me change my marker, which triggers what we know as our knee-jerk reaction to a situation. So if you see a snake, it's either you kill that snake or you run out of that place where the snake is there. Okay? So that movement is processed by our neocortex. Okay? It's processed by neocortex. May ahas, takbo, or may ahas, patayin mo. Okay? Depends on the level of your confidence and the level of your responses to those kinds of situations. Okay. So let's talk about what is emotional intelligence. When we say emotional intelligence, this lies between the interaction of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Okay. It was introduced by Salovey. He is a psychologist from Yale University who showed how intelligence could be brought to our emotions. Later on, Dr. Mayer, a psychologist from Hampshire, joined Salovey that yes, this is true. Our intelligence could be brought to our emotions. So, pag matalino ka, he argued that you have a better way of coping up and managing your emotions. But it changes. Okay, it changes. This is just one argument. There are a lot of arguments that in other way around, even if you're smart, it doesn't gives you the guarantee that you can um really manage your emotions very well. Okay, it's not like that. But let's talk about first the argument of Salovey and May, right? Now, but Goldman defines intelligence as the ability to motivate oneself and persist in the face of frustrations, to control impulse and delay gratifications, to regulate one's mood and keep distress from swamping the ability to think, to empathize, and to hope. Isa-isahin natin siya because this is kind of heavy definition. Okay? Let's take it phrase by phrase. Said that ability to motivate oneself and persist in the face of frustrations. Sino ka ba pag napo-frustrate? Are you the person who would just rather stop what you are doing, embrace the failure, and stay on that failure and cry? Or are you the person that when you are frustrated, you look for other ways to achieve your goal, embrace the frustration, cry, but has the ability to move forward? Okay? So those are the two things that you have to compare based on Goldman's definition of emotional intelligence. Controlling impulses and delayed gratification. Are you a person that when you go to a mall, you love the sandal, or you went to the mall, you went to Apple store, and you said that you love a MacBook, so you're gonna buy a MacBook because you feel like you did something great? Or are you the person that when you go to an Apple store, you saw a MacBook, but you still assess if you really need the MacBook or not, and control your impulsivity to buy it? Okay? So when we are talking about emotional intelligence in Goldman's definition, it is your ability to control your impulse. Okay? That wait, you have this kind of ability. Teka lang, need ko ba to? Okay? Or somebody shouted at you. Wait, he shouted at me. Should I shout back immediately? Or should I just let it pass because maybe he's just having a bad day? Your ability in that particular situation, because it happens in a snap of a finger. Okay, you cannot really control everything. But if you have this ability, then good for you. Okay. Lastly is delayed gratification. Like are you the person that when you achieve something, kailangan may reward agad? Or are you the person that when you achieve something, you just wait first before you gratify yourself, or you assure first that everything is good? Or ikaw ba yung tao, when we are talking about delayed gratification, ikaw ba yung tao na pag may ginawa kang mabuti, you immediately expect for a good return? Or you are the person that when you do something good, you pause there, okay, and never expected for an immediate return? So that's the concept of delayed gratification. Regulate one's mood and keep distress from swamping the ability to think, to empathize, and to hope. Okay, so that's the definition of Goldman's emotional intelligence. Okay, for Salovey's 5 domains of emotional intelligence, I'm just gonna give a rundown, but I'll be discussing this one in our synchronous session: knowing one's emotion and self-awareness, managing emotions, motivating oneself, recognizing emotions in others, and handling relationships. I'll be cutting the introduction here about emotional intelligence, but this video's goal is very simple. I want you to realize how emotional intelligence correlates, okay, in your personal development. I'll be leaving that question for you. Okay, and I want you to answer that one in the discussion tab below, and I'll be typing the question here. Okay, how do emotional intelligence correlate with your personal development? Okay, I want to hear your responses for this question. Okay, and I want to see your responses not later than today. Okay. This video is made and powered by Zoom, and that ends my introduction for this chapter. I hope that I'll see you guys next video lecture. Bye everyone.